We grow up being told to fear an average life, but nobody really stops to define what that means. A stable job, a partner, a house, 2 kids. Millions of people dream of exactly that. There is absolutely nothing wrong with stability. The danger kicks in because of what that stability does to us. Once we build a comfortable routine, we stop trying new things. We avoid the options where we might be bad at something. Somewhere along the line, comfort quietly replaces courage. There's a mechanism driving this, your ego. It builds a boundary around your identity, actively rejecting anything that makes you look foolish. It rarely feels like fear. It disguises itself as rationality, feeding you safe excuses like, "I'm being realistic." Avoiding the humiliation of failure today feels like a win, but in exchange, you stay exactly where you are, trading your potential future for a perfectly comfortable present. A 9-to-5 or a mortgage doesn't create an average life. It's the mentality of letting those structures control you, choosing to coast through the day instead of asking more of yourself. To break out of this paralysis, we need a catalyst forceful enough to override the ego. We must confront the reality of our own mortality. When you remember that your time here is strictly limited, it acts as an instant clarifying force. All the external expectations fall away. The pride, the need to look competent, the fear of embarrassment, none of it survives in the face of death. Jobs call death life's change agent. It clears out the old to make way for the new, providing a constant, natural pressure to move forward. Jobs used this as a daily tool for making major choices. Recognizing that you will be dead soon forces you to realize you are already naked. The things you think you have to protect don't actually matter. There is no logical reason not to follow your intuition. You don't need to wait for a literal terminal diagnosis to gain this clarity. You can artificially induce it right now by practicing what we can call a small ego death. A small ego death is a deliberate, temporary sacrifice of your personal identity. It's the voluntary decision to give up your need to look certain. At age 42, Anthony Bourdain had spent 2 decades working in professional kitchens. He was a line cook and sous chef, facing the reality that he had grown into the very type of stagnant person he once resented. He took a micro-risk. He didn't quit his job. He simply picked up a pen and wrote a raw essay about the restaurant industry. Then he submitted it to The New Yorker, a place he wasn't entirely sure he belonged. He fully accepted the high probability that they would reject him. Stan Lee faced a similar wall. He pitched a new character to his publisher, a teenager with personal problems and spider powers. The publisher told him it was the worst idea he had ever heard. People hate spiders, and teenagers are sidekicks, not heroes. Lee didn't argue, and he didn't quit the industry in protest. He had a dying magazine called Amazing Fantasy that was about to be canceled. Since nobody cared what went into the final issue, he slipped Spider-Man onto the cover to test the idea without any stakes. Notice the exact method both men used. Neither man dramatically blew up his life. They kept their day jobs. They simply traded their absolute need for certainty for a small, calculated dose of potential embarrassment. Building a deeply fulfilling life does not require massive cinematic leaps. It requires surviving a continuous sequence of these tiny, uncomfortable risks, where you actively allow yourself to be completely wrong. Testing this hypothesis doesn't require a total life overhaul. It starts with a 30-day commitment to small, uncomfortable deviations from your routine. For the next month, your goal is not to launch a massive business or achieve total financial independence. Your only assignment is to actively seek out situations where you might look foolish. Take a new route to the office. Post a piece of writing or art before you think it's perfectly finished. Strike up a conversation with the stranger across the street. If you choose to protect your ego by avoiding these minor discomforts today, you guarantee a much heavier penalty later. You trade a momentary sting of embarrassment right now for the permanent, lingering pain of regret. When Steve Jobs addressed a graduating class, he referenced the farewell message of a publication that guided his entire generation. The back cover simply read, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." Staying foolish means consistently risking your current ego to discover what lies beyond your current set of choices. The next time you catch yourself freezing up, paralyzed by the fear of how an idea might fail, stop. Ask yourself the only question that matters. What if it actually works out?